Welcome to another episode of the Hawkins STEM Chronicles, a production of the Hawkins Center for STEM. In this exciting episode, Abraham Lincoln, an agent of STEM. Abraham Lincoln was many things before becoming the 16th President of the United States. He was a farm laborer, a rail splitter, a store clerk, a soldier in the Black Hawk War, a surveyor, a lawyer, and a congressman. And no, Lincoln was not a vampire hunter. He did use an axe in his time, but only to chop wood. And he was a wrestler. By all accounts, he was a good wrestler. But above all, Abraham Lincoln was an agent of STEM. In real life, Lincoln had a deep love for books. He understood their importance. When he wasn't working, he was reading. And when he wasn't reading, he was studying. Reading and studying. Yes, there's a difference. One of the subjects Lincoln studied was geometry. Not just out of curiosity, but because he had to. His job depended on it. It was 1832, after the Black Hawk War. The then governor of Illinois appointed a surveyor, who was also a law student, and Black Hawk War veteran John Calhoun to be the state surveyor. This John Calhoun, by the way, was not President John Calhoun. John Calhoun, the surveyor, had been studying law and teaching in Springfield, Illinois. On being appointed state surveyor, Calhoun needed a deputy. He turned to his friend and fellow veteran Abraham Lincoln. To perform the job, Lincoln had to learn surveying fast. He borrowed 2 books, A System of Geometry and Trigonometry with a Treatise on Surveying by Abel Flint, a Congregational minister from Hartford, Connecticut, and The Theory and Practice of Surveying by Robert Gibson, an Irish immigrant and skilled land surveyor. Lincoln was ready to study, but another connection soon helped him along. Enter James Mentor Graham, a schoolteacher. Yes, his middle name was actually Mentor. You can't make this stuff up. Did Lincoln officially study under Graham? Probably not. But a mentor-student relationship naturally evolved. Graham and Lincoln were similar. Both were country boys from poor families. Graham, about 10 years older, may have played an older brother or uncle-like role. Their conversation likely started casually. Maybe they ran into each other and Lincoln mentioned his new job. Graham, as a teacher, probably said, "If you run into any problems, let me know." But as Graham saw Lincoln's drive and his gaps in knowledge, he stepped in. He likely helped Lincoln with geometry, trigonometry, grammar, and even public speaking. For Lincoln, this was gold. He understood that being a skilled surveyor could open doors. Surely, Lincoln must have known that his hero George Washington and Thomas Jefferson had been surveyors, Jefferson from a family line of surveyors and landowners. Perhaps he also knew that Major Andrew Ellicott and Benjamin Banneker were mathematicians, surveyors, and astronomers. But his journey in STEM was just beginning. Later, while a member of Congress, Lincoln took on Euclid's Elements, one of the most influential mathematical works in history. Why was this important? Many of America's great minds had studied Euclid. Washington and Jefferson owned copies of Elements. Benjamin Franklin likely had his own set. James Madison studied Euclid at Princeton under John Witherspoon. Benjamin Banneker almost certainly studied Euclid's Elements by using copies owned by the Ellicott family. Why did these American founding fathers study Euclid? Remember, this was the Enlightenment period. A key concept of the Enlightenment period was reason. What better way for men to improve an ability to reason but by the study of mathematics? And what better tool in the mid-1700s to study mathematics than Euclid's Elements? What do you think? A topic for another video to come? Answer in the comments below. So, Congressman Abraham Lincoln, self-taught as always, took to studying Euclid's Elements, 1 volume at a time at age 44. Even while riding the law circuit in Illinois, he carried a copy of Elements and studied it to sharpen his logical reasoning. He admired Euclid's method of building conclusions step by step from first principles. Lincoln applied Euclid's ideas throughout his life. He believed demonstrate was the most powerful word in logic. Arguments should be proven, not just stated. His speeches, including the Lincoln-Douglas debates, 1858, and the Gettysburg Address, 1863, reflect Euclidean clarity and structure. His Cooper Union Address, 1860, follows a step-by-step logical progression, much like a geometric proof. During the Civil War, Lincoln was one of the most technologically engaged presidents in U.S. history. He was the only U.S. president to hold a patent for a device to lift boats over obstacles. He used railroads to revolutionize military logistics. He monitored real-time battlefield communications in the War Department's telegraph office. He supported ironclad warships, changing naval warfare forever. He approved the use of hot air balloons for aerial reconnaissance. He personally tested weapons, including the Spencer repeating rifle, an early Gatling gun, and naval torpedoes. Lincoln also played a key role in defending Washington, D.C. After the First Battle of Bull Run, 1861, exposed the city's vulnerability, Lincoln worked closely with General John G. Barnard to fortify the capital. By war's end, D.C. was one of the most fortified cities in the world, with 68 forts, 93 artillery batteries, 800-plus cannons. As for Lincoln's love of learning, Harry S. Truman once said, "Not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers." Lincoln embodied this. His personal library included the Bible, shaped his moral views and speechwriting. Aesop's fables developed his storytelling skills. Shakespeare's works deepened his understanding of human nature. The Declaration of Independence and U.S. Constitution guided his political philosophy. Blackstone's commentaries taught him law. The Columbian orator strengthened his rhetorical skills. Lincoln had less than 1 year of formal schooling, but he relentlessly pursued knowledge. His education wasn't just for himself. It allowed him to help others and shape the nation. What about you? Lincoln's story is timeless. Across generations and backgrounds, people have pursued education, especially STEM, to improve their lives and those of others. Maybe you have pursued a STEM education. Maybe you're working on one now. Or maybe you want one but aren't sure where to start. We'd love to hear your story. Share it in the comments below. Thank you for joining us for another installment of the Hawkins STEM Chronicles, a production of the Hawkins Center for STEM.